Finn Peacock, retailers say they will struggle to cover costs. Do you think this is a valid concern?
Yes, I think it is, because they have to cover the network costs, which is the costs of sending the energy across the wires, as well as the generation costs. And although electricity prices do often go negative in the middle of the day, there's many, many days when they don't go negative. In fact, on the day when Chris Bowen announced this, and he said, oh, right now electricity prices are negative in South Australia, Southeast Queensland and New South Wales, electricity prices only went negative for 1 hour in New South Wales that day, and only for half an hour where they would have covered the network costs. So this is the generators aren't generally the retailers aren't getting this electricity for free a lot of the time. So it's quite an expensive thing to offer, and it is generally a loss leader right now.
Well, one of the aims of the scheme is to lower power prices. Do you think then in that case it's going to work to do that?
Well, one thing that we need to clear up is that reading the headlines, most consumers, I think, would assume that come July next year, they will magically not pay for electricity for 3 hours a day. But although they haven't released the details, I'm pretty sure that's not how it's going to happen. I think what's going to happen is the retailers are going to be forced to offer at least one plan that has these free hours a day, and the consumers will proactively have to switch to that plan. But they should only switch to that plan if they think they're going to be better off on that plan. And most consumers, I think, won't be better off on that plan.
Well, Chris Bowen says we want to see the benefits of renewable energy flow to all, even those without solar panels or battery. Is this a good way of sharing Australia's solar uptake?
I think it's a good idea to reduce the cost of electricity during the day, to encourage people to use more electricity during the day. But I think forcing retailers to offer it for free for 3 hours is only likely to push up other costs for consumers. And it's only rarely going to make sense for people who either have a home battery or an electric car that they have at home. And the problem there is that's generally the most affluent households. If you don't have a battery or an electric car you can charge for free during the day, you're probably going to be paying a lot more for your peak electricity during the evening when you're forced to use electricity. So you've got to be very careful if you're going to go onto one of these plans that you will actually be better off if you don't have a big enough battery or an electric car that's home during the day.
Because shifting loads that aren't very energy intensive, we heard talks about smart appliances like dishwashers and washing machines that can be programmed to work during those free hours, but they might not take the load off the grid, as you say, like an electric car charging for that period.
So I've did a bit of maths this morning, and I think consumers would have to shift at least 6 kilowatt hours of electricity from the evening peak to the middle of the day. And that's quite hard to do. It's quite easy to use 6 kilowatt hours of electricity in 3 hours. You could just leave the oven on. But to not use that 6 kilowatt hours in the evening when everyone's at home and you're cooking dinner and you want the heating or the cooling on is actually very hard.
So how do households maximise this opportunity then?
Unfortunately, they do it by getting a big enough battery so they can fill it for free during the day and then not touch the grid from about 4 o'clock to about 9 o'clock in the evening, when electricity prices are really expensive if you're on one of these plans that offers the cheap or free electricity during the day.
So does it then complement the government's cheaper home batteries program?
Yes, absolutely. It makes buying a battery even better, even more attractive if you can fill it for free no matter what your solar panels are doing.
I mean, you mentioned the households that perhaps are wealthy enough to have an electric car in the driveway with a battery. I mean, who are the types of households that come to your platform for advice? What demographics are better placed to take advantage of this?
So it's generally people that own a roof, because if you want to take advantage of the battery rebate, which is the newest one, you can only do that if you've already got solar panels or if you're buying solar panels as well. So that only makes sense for people who own their own roof. It's not necessarily very affluent people that own their own homes, but you've got to be a homeowner generally to take advantage of the solar or the battery rebates.
I mean, when you look at house prices, if you don't already have a home, it is typically going to be affluent people that are the ones with roofs.
Yeah, absolutely. As we go on, houses are so expensive, that is generally the more affluent people. I don't see how this does anything for renters, which is something I'm passionate about, having rented most of my life, because although the renters are less likely to be at home during the day, and they're still going to be forced to pay higher peak prices in the evening, which they can't get round. And unless the regulations change and you get cheap portable batteries, they can't get a battery installed either.
So do you think it is going to be the case if we have the free power during those 3 hours or so in the middle of the day, it's only inevitable that prices are going to have to rise somewhere else on various contracts?
Well, I think so, because I think the electricity retailers are going to be probably losing money supplying free electricity for 3 hours a day, 365 days a year, and they've got to make up those losses somewhere.
Finn Peacock, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.